Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Styles with Urban Arts Magazine. Super excited to have our next artist for our 40 Under 40 conversations, highlighting 40 artists that are under the age of 40 who are doing amazing things in the arts world. So today I have with me the one, the only, well, not the one, the only, but the amazing Mr. Amir Mo. Amir, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, brother. I appreciate you taking the time having me. Hello to the whole audience.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. So, I know it's super early in LA, so it's like one of those like live with Kelly calls.
It's I wish I could take credit and say it was that early in LA. It's only like 9:10. I just happen to have a late night, so
Gotcha. So we're gonna bypass that late night because we don't want any incriminating stories.
absolutely.
Amir, tell me about yourself. Tell us about yourself. What's your background? What do you do?
So I'm Persian American, first generation. I'm a writer, director, and actor. I wrote, directed, and starred in the indie feature comedy The Sex Addict, which featured Horatio Sands from Saturday Night Live, Brian Callen from Mad TV, Ken Davidian from Borat, and Mary Carey from Howard Stern.
Man, that's an all-star cast. I can't wait to get into
It's,
that
it's
in a little
pretty
bit.
good. It's pretty good for a first outing.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, how did you get to LA? Like, were you born in LA?
No, so I was raised in Vancouver, Washington. There's another Vancouver. It's not in Canada. It's a less
Right.
desirable version of the
Right.
Canadian of the Canadian one. And I had to get the hell out. So
Yeah.
I did. I think I did like a semester of college over there. I was like, yo, I need to get the hell out of here, get in a little bit like more diversity. I was like sticking out like a sore thumb. So I actually went to San Diego. I had some family in San Diego. Went to school out there. Um, from there, I was actually a manager at a market research company. We were contracted by the movie studios to show the new movie trailers coming out, and we would
Wow.
get audience opinion on that.
Hmm.
So that was when I was like, I could write, I could do better than the trailers that were showing on. So that's when I started writing, and then eventually I made the move to LA.
Nice. So did
Yeah.
you go to film school? Like, is that what you went to college for, or did you go to college for something different?
Actually, I got my master's in business. I almost went to law school. I didn't go for film or television. I think I took like one course in
Nice.
like film and television. But yeah, it was all like it was my Persian parents pushing like
Exactly.
yeah.
Go the safe route. Go the route that's gonna make money. Yep.
Exactly.
I definitely understand that. So,
Yeah.
you hit LA and you start like auditioning and acting and stuff. Is that what happened?
No, I never wanted to act. Actually, I
Oh,
just wanted to be a writer, and it was a really difficult like I think like 3 years here in LA, and my parents were like, nothing's going on, go to law
yeah.
school. So I got into law school. I was going to go back to San Diego and go to law school there. And I think it was 2 or 3 days before I was going to let the school know, hey, I'm going to be I'm enrolling for the new
Yeah.
semester. NBC called me. It was a real like flashpoint in my life. NBC called me and was like, hey, we want you in our page program. So I was like, all right, cool. Well, that's like what I want to do anyways. The entertainment industry is what I want to do anyway. So that saved my ass from having to go to law school and doing that whole thing. So
Yeah.
that's how it that's kind of how it all started.
So tell me about the page program at NBC.
So it's apparently, they say it's more difficult to get into than Harvard.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
that's what they say. I'm taking them at
Cool.
the word. It's just an introduction on the industry pretty much. I worked on the Tonight Show with Leno.
Nice.
For some time. I worked in primetime programming. I was on a couple of desks there. Digital distribution. Um, Yeah. So I did a little bit of everything. It was, a lot of people, a lot of people I still stay connected to. They come back and be like, "Oh, I didn't get anything out of the program." Well, it shows you what you want to do, what you don't want to do.
Yeah, that's true.
I was offered a job at primetime programming, and I was like, "Hell no, I don't want to be here. I don't want to work at the network at all." Because I was on those notes calls. I was on
Okay.
those notes calls with like the showrunner and the network executive. And the
Wow.
network executive notes is like, man, you're letting the show like just. These are your notes. Like, they were horrible notes. It's
Gotcha.
like,
And the
if that's
showrunner
your
has to
note.
take those notes.
Sorry, what was that?
So the showrunner has to take those notes.
Uh, they don't have to, but it was like, so I was basically an assistant at the time.
Okay.
So I was working on behalf of like the executive, and it was the executive being like, "Hey, showrunner, scene 3, I don't like the color of this woman's dress.
Oh
Let,
wow.
let's reshoot and change the color of the dress." I'll be like, "That's your
Wow.
note?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
this
crazy.
this show's on fire. This show is it's getting murdered in the ratings, and that's your
Yeah.
note."
Right.
So that's what I witnessed firsthand was a lot of just like, what?
Yeah.
And so that's when I was like, I want nothing to do with working at a network. No offense, but I was
Makes
more of
sense.
a creative, guy. So
Gotcha. So would you advise for those who want to get in the industry to go into programs like that to learn what they want to do and what they don't want to do?
yeah, I think it's a good introduction to the industry. I know a lot of people are interested in the industry, but they don't know what aspect of it they're interested in, what they want to do. I was always off the bat. I started off as a writer. I always wanted to write. I always wanted to be the creative, and then later on, um, kind of by necessity, when I started shooting my own stuff, I got into the acting. So I never wanted to act before that.
Got it. Got it. So question for you. So being in LA as a writer, I mean, you have a ton of actors, you have a ton of producers, you have a ton of, camera guys out there. Do you think it's easier to work on your own work in LA?
Yeah, definitely.
Or,
I mean, I would,
I'm
I
sorry,
would,
create. Yeah.
yeah, I think so. I think that's the way to go. For me, I've never been like fond of like short narrative stuff. Like I never got into like Vine, or like I'm not really into TikTok or anything like that. I'm always like, I like a long narrative of like a feature or like a TV series. But I always tell any creative, like, these people are not going to help. They don't. They're not in the business of like discovering talent for the most part. They're not. They're in the business of finding business, which is
Right.
like people with followings.
Yeah.
And so, whether you're an actor or writer or director or whatever, like, yeah, you got to go out and make your own opportunities. Don't wait for them. And so I would definitely recommend that. And I know it's not easy. It's definitely not easy to, I'm in post production for a feature film right now. And that's been in, we started shooting that like 3 years ago.
Wow. And this is
Yeah.
self-producing?
Yes.
Okay.
It'll be my second feature film.
Okay. So tell me about that process of like self-producing, self-promoting a feature film.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with, you always want to, I think you want to plan for the worst.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is like budget. Like, it's likely you're not going to land like a $5 million budget for your script.
Right.
So, what kind of stories can you tell? What are you passionate about talking about? What are you passionate about? And then like the business side of it, like,
Yeah.
I knew, and I'll just say this, like, did I necessarily want to do The Sex Addict as like my first film? Not really, but like, I looked at it as, a business, and I knew that title, I knew that title was going to get some attention. And I knew, obviously those celebrity features would help it as well. That film has brought in over like 1900% like return on investment.
Yeah, I was reading that and I have so many questions.
Yeah. And it's like I didn't, it's a little indie feature film that never got a marketing budget.
Yeah.
So it marketed itself just by the title. I think I probably spent like $150 on marketing the thing, to be honest with you. So there's no marketing budget for your independent film, and that's part of the the challenge is you can make a film, but how do you get people to know that it's out there?
Right.
And that's a big challenge, and you got to think of it as a business as well.
But you have a distribution deal for Sex Addict, right?
Yeah, I got a worldwide distribution deal with Gravitas. Netflix was interested at the time as well. So like before, it was such a backwards. I mean, I never did the process anyways, but usually, you take these films to festival, and then you get some attention, and then But I got attention just from the trailer. Like started sending a trailer out, and so I started getting attention from some pretty good heavyweights. Like right off the bat, and so I never even had to go into the festival circuit or anything like that.
Wow, that's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So if you don't, I mean, you don't have to answer the question, but like, what was the budget range? Was it ultra low, mid, high? Like, what was the budget?
It was a shoestring budget. It was a very small. Now here's the thing, like, how much real dollars did I spend versus the value that I got? I had access.
Right.
I had access to locations. I had access to equipment, all that stuff.
Right.
So as a filmmaker, you got to be really resourceful because you don't want to spend $2,500 on a location.
Yeah.
So you got to be really resourceful with location, talent, equipment, all that stuff.
Makes sense. Yeah. So the celeb talent that you have in it, was that relationships too?
No. They assumed I emailed a lot of people. I reached out to a lot of people. And I had a lot of really nice dudes who, couldn't be a part of it at the time and wanted to work with me still going forward. But no, I don't have any relationships with anyone. Nobody wants to hang out. So it was just me, really. What it was just me finding a contact and hitting them with the trailer, and they really just assumed that, oh, like, dude, you're hilarious. You do stand-up comedy, right? And I'm like, no, I've never actually done stand-up. And they're like, dude, you should do stand-up. You're hilarious. And so I was like, all right, that's cool. Like, you get some validation from like dudes from Saturday Night Live and like SNL and like Mad TV, Borat and stuff. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm doing something right. So that's kind of how that's kind of what it came about.
That's really cool. That's cool. I think okay. Well, I'll ask that question next. So what's the next big project? I know you have one in post-production. Anything else coming down the pipeline?
Yeah, I'm in talks with a handful of production companies / investors / management companies on really I got 3 things, but there's like 2 things that are, I think, like they're super commercial. And I mean, I like pushing the boundaries. I like introducing something that's like digestible for people, but then like kind of subverting expectations with something else. So I have one that I think is like it's kind of like my secret weapon, and that's it's a true story, and a lot of people don't know this, but it's based on a true story of Osama bin Laden.
Oh wow!
Being infatuated with Whitney Houston.
This is a true story.
It's a true story. He was in love with Whitney Houston. So
Nah, that's crazy, man.
I promise, man. It's yeah. He would compare his mistresses to like Whitney and he would like talk about Whitney all the time. And
So
I think
I'm gonna tell you why I find this funny. So I'm a huge Whitney fan, like a
I am
huge
too. That's
Whitney
how I
fan.
found out. I'm a huge Whitney fan.
Osama bin Laden is infatuated with Whitney. That's crazy. I never knew that, or was. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I just thought I was like, we got all these. Also, like, I think I got on this idea before Jojo Rabbit.
Okay.
But like I always get compared to like Taika Waititi like all the time when I show up on set, and they're like, "You look like Taika Waititi." But like, yeah, Taika did like this funny Hitler thing,
Right.
and we've been doing the Hitler thing forever. And we like learning about these tyrants and these dictators and these bad guys. There's all these different series and movies on Netflix about Idi Amin, Saddam Hussein,
Right.
and I'm like, we don't really have anything on Osama, and I'm the biggest Whitney Houston fan, and I'm like, this is the Great Gatsby. It's the Great Gatsby in reverse. He gave up a life of like mansions and luxury cars to live in the caves because he was doing this for Whitney.
He was doing this for That's hilarious.
He was doing this for Whitney, and I'm like, that's such a like hilarious take. So I got that script which is really funny. It's awesome. It's really I'm really excited about it. Hopefully, someone has the guts to want to make this thing.
Yeah.
And then the other one is it's kind of an edgy Christmas comedy where a struggling writer accidentally shoots the real Santa Claus on the first Christmas he meets his girlfriend's parents.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm tracking with you. I'm tracking with you.
Yeah. So and he's like a progressive, and his parents a little like MAGA, a little conservative. So
Okay.
he's got to deal with that at the same time. He accidentally shoots the real Santa Claus.
He shoots the real Santa Claus. It's funny.
Yeah. So those are the two things that I'm really like pushing right now, and I'm getting some attention for, and hopefully we can start getting those things underway.
Nice. So question I like to ask everyone. COVID has been crazy for us all for the last 2 years. How did COVID affect you?
What affected me the most was probably, I think we had to learn how to be more efficient as far as like post-production goes. My guy who's putting the film together, my co-director, he lives about an hour away, and so I would make that trip constantly, do a 6, 7, 8 hour day working on the film, and we just adapted to Zoom, which is a lot more efficient. And also as an actor, I get a lot of like auditions on like commercials and stuff like that, and some theatrical stuff. So no longer did I have to go into an audition. I could just do a self-tape at home, which I certainly prefer.
Right. So it's worked out in your favor, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, last year was probably the most like successful year for me, and I've only been really doing this full time, I would say, since like 2018.
Okay.
Yeah. So last year was super successful for me.
That's cool, man. That's cool.
Yeah.
So for a young filmmaker who wants to jump from, let's say, Dallas, Texas, and wants to move to LA, and has big dreams, what's some advice that you would give them before they get there and then when they get there?
Sure. I think the thing to do is definitely have a good chunk of change. Have some savings for sure. because this place will just eat all your money.
Yeah, for sure.
And do a lot of prep work before you come. You know, you can start making relationships now. Have a body of work.
Okay.
Have a body of work. I was like writing. I was getting contracted to write, TV pilots for production companies and feature like screenplays here and there. And I had all these like ideas and stuff like that, but like nobody, unless you're talking about like you're having success in these competitions, which is kind of a lottery. Nobody really wanted to talk to me until like, oh, you made a movie, and here's the movie trailer, and I can watch it. I don't have to sit down and read something. Like that's really when things switched for me. So have a body of work, make relationships now, which you can, which I'm sure you're totally doing, and have a good, chunk of money, and have something in the works. Always be working on something of your own.
That's great advice. Great advice. Yeah, I hope somebody's listening. Like, listen, like it's all about forming those relationships, and then be working on something. I love that. I definitely love that.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked. I'm constantly working on, different commercials and stuff like that. That's doing, I'm bringing money in for that stuff. And I'm super passionate about, working on these brands. I always get to set because like I always get to set and I'm like the lead character, and I'm showing up to set to like a Hewlett Packard shoot or McAfee or Chase Bank or whatever, and I'm like, hey, isn't it funny how diverse you make your commercials, but you have like no diversity in your in your actual business?
Right.
That's what they do. That they that's what they do. So keep working on your own thing, and look, man, you're gonna get a lot of failures. There's gonna be a lot of rejections. I mean, I got one thing I tell people, and people just become so devastated, and I'm like, I can't do anything about it right now. But I don't know if you're familiar with the Lucas brothers.
Yeah.
So I had them attached as executive producers to a project.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and Comedy Central wanted to hear the pitch, and Paramount wanted to hear the pitch. And it's a super fire script. It's not for everybody. It's super edgy, and right before we were going to go do this pitch, they ended up getting something of theirs greenlit, and so they had to leave. And then my manager at the time would not let me go in and pitch this project. So by the time I fired this dude, by the time I was trying to regroup and do this freaking pitch, the executives had already moved on to different companies.
Yeah.
So I never even got to pitch this thing. I'm okay with rejection, but you got to take the shot.
Yeah, sure.
You got to take the shot. And my manager, who was super green at the time, didn't even want to take the shot. He was just scared.
Like, because the Lucas brothers are attached to it. That's why, right?
Yeah. So there's gonna be a lot of rejection and just there's a lot of us out here with voices and things we're trying to say and things we're trying to get across, and it's hard to sift through all that stuff. So you just gotta.
Your question. So how do you maintain your authentic voice in a place that is known to be very plastic and superficial?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. I mean, especially if you're a comedy guy and you're trying to push boundaries, you're trying to be edgy, because I've certainly heard from Trevor Noah's manager that one of my scripts, the one the Lucas brothers were on, was actually super offensive. And
oh wow.
So I mean, I think you got to do what you're good at.
Okay.
I think it was like Gary Oldman. I mean, he's talking about the acting side, but I think it fits for everything. Is like, what you're good at, So don't change that. Don't do something different to try to fit into what this is. You do what you're good at, and it may or may not fit for that situation, but you got to do what you're good at.
Right. Right.
You know, and
I
you
love
got
it.
to, yeah, you got to keep it, 100% authentic. And I think, I think the people who break through, I think, are the ones with like original voices who've got something to say, who might be a little divisive, so on and so forth. I think there's a lot of people trying to fit in, and I don't know how successful that is. I don't know, but I think you got to be true to your voice and what you're trying to say when you're trying to talk about.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's great advice. Definitely great advice. I want to jump back over to Sex Addict. Some pretty racy material there in the trailer that I saw. But it seems like the reception has been really good. So did that give you like a more of an impetus to keep finding your authentic voice, to keep going down that same lane?
Yeah, I think so. I think, like, to be honest, I think that film was like 10 years late. Like,
Okay.
Just for where we are in the culture and everything like that, I think it was a little bit late. But yeah, I mean, I'm always open to people being like, yo, it doesn't work, or this sucks or whatever. But like, yeah, I mean, when you're getting validation from like some comedy veterans, then you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm doing something, right. And why should we stop here? Like, we did this little thing, we did the super. I mean, listen, that there's not even a script to the Sex Addict. I improvised the entire film. The entire film is improvised. Yeah.
Wow.
I just was basically, camera dude, put the camera on me. I'm gonna improvise here. The whole film is improvised. So
Wow.
yeah, when you taste a little bit of success of what you're doing, you're like, oh, okay, well, clearly I am good enough, to know what I'm doing with such little resources,
Right.
So yeah, and that was the time. I mean, when that film came out, like, I was getting meetings that I didn't think I had any business getting. That's the truth.
That's cool.
Yeah. And a lot of people were like, "Hey, I like what you're doing, man. I like what you're doing. Like, how can I help? What can I do?" Stuff like that. So again, like, if you do something with an original voice and something different, even if and plenty of people are gonna not like it, that's just part of making art. But you get a lot of people confident in what you're doing, and what you're operating in, and you got to keep pushing forward. So
That's dope, man. That's dope. Question: how can we follow you on social media, your site, all the good stuff?
sure. Well, my website is amirmo.com. Pretty simple. Instagram is not the real Amir Mo.
Okay.
And I'm on Twitter. Amir Mo wins. I don't really spend too much time on Twitter. Yeah, I haven't. I would get probably kicked off. So yeah, you guys can follow me there. Feel free to reach out, and always looking for hungry talent to work with. So that's the truth. Always looking. The best feeling for me is like identifying talented people and trying to give them a platform to do what they're good at. So
That's awesome.
always trying to find new people to work with and collaborate with.
Sweet, man. That's sweet. So I want to play a quick game with you.
Sure.
Super simple, in my opinion. It's called This or That. So I'll give you two items, phrases, words, and you pick one of the two, and then just a brief description on why. Cool.
Cool.
All right. This will be easy. LA or New York?
LA.
Wow.
I just don't like to get screamed at by homeless people.
Don't go downtown LA then.
And I don't. Yeah.
Chick-fil-A or In-N-Out?
Oh man. I'm gonna get burned for this either way. I think Chick-fil-A.
Okay.
I think Chick-fil-A. What, chicken's healthier?
Okay. Oh, that's the reason. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, In-N-Out is less homophobic, but on food, I'll go Chick-fil-A.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. A big party or an intimate gathering?
Intimate gathering. I think I mean, I value like conversations and stuff. So like, it's always weird when I get to a place and it's super loud and I can't have a conversation with people. I just feel awkward, and so I prefer conversations and intimacy.
Okay. Okay. Would you rather have $1 million in cash or $1 million home?
$1 million home.
Why is that?
Appreciation.
Okay.
Yeah, a home is, you know, that $1 million is going to stay $1 million, but that home, you know, is historically always increased in value.
Right. Interesting. To be invisible or to be able to fly?
Ooh. Invisible. No, I'll go with flying. I think flying would be more beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Especially in traffic.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I want to fly all the time whenever I'm in LA, for sure.
Definitely.
I know the answer to this one, but I have to ask anyway because it's you. Comedy or horror?
Comedy. And I think comedy, just, you could talk. I think it's, how do I say this? I think comedy, it's brave, man. And when you're not like taking like the obvious, you know,
Right.
the obvious route. But I think if you're doing it right, I think you're ruffling some feathers. I think you're pulling people out of their boundaries, and yeah, I think it's brave, and I think you could comedy can talk about our issues through comedy. Yeah.
True. Cool, man. Well, that was this or that. That was our game. Super quick, super easy. Thank you for joining me on this podcast for our 40 Under 40. Make sure, hey everybody, make sure you go check out Amir Mo. Make sure you go check out the movie Sex Addict. The full movie's on YouTube, right?
There's probably people bootlegging on YouTube. It's on iTunes. It's on Google Play. I think it's on Tubi right now for free.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you guys don't want to pay for it, which I don't blame you guys, go on Tubi.
Okay, go pay for it. Get it on iTunes. Go pay for it. Make sure you support artists.
Absolutely.
And then make sure you follow him on all social media so you can make sure that you are knowing or staying in the know about everything that's going on with Amir Mo. Hey man, just again, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, my man. I really appreciate it.
No problem.